Hey folks, Erik from MobileMustHave.com here, and this is our RV that we've been traveling in for the better part of 2 years that we work and play from on the road. Now, this motorhome is equipped with our Ultimate Road Warrior VR2 internet package. And what that does is that gives us up to 5 simultaneous connections to the internet. For us, we utilize 2 cellular connections and 1 connection to Starlink that we use as a backup. We've covered this in a previous video, but a big question folks ask us a lot is how we configure all of those connections to connect together into 1 connection. The technology is called SpeedFusion or SpeedFusion Connect, and today's video, we're going to show you how to set that up in under 5 minutes. Come with us and we'll show you how it's done. Now today's video is going to be a hands-on tutorial. So if you've purchased a device from us or someone else, you can go ahead and follow along and this will help you get connected. One note though, you are going to need a device that supports SpeedFusion, and that's just about any device that we have in terms of our mobile internet bundles. But it's going to work best if you have a device that currently has more than 1 internet connection. But if you have like a BR1 Pro 5G or any other single modem devices, chances are you can use SpeedFusion. You're just going to have to pick up a second internet source from somewhere. That might be Starlink, that could potentially be an external small hotspot, or it could be a campground Wi-Fi source if that is something that you have available that's a reliable connection. But it's kind of cold out here because it's November, so I'm gonna hop inside and we're gonna go straight to my desktop and I'm gonna show you how to get this configured. Welcome to our home. Thanks for joining us. So today we're going to cover a couple different things, but all of it is around SpeedFusion Cloud, also known as SpeedFusion Connect, also known as SpeedFusion Protect. Peplink's been messing around with the names a little bit, but all of these acronyms or words, Connect, Protect, and Cloud, all refer to the technology that is allowing you to bond multiple internet connections together. So whatever you see them called online, we're all talking about the same thing. Today we're going to go through 2 different ways to configure SpeedFusion Connect. Now the first way is using the wizard, and it is super simple. As I promised you before, you can configure SpeedFusion Connect in under 5 minutes. Now the primary customer that would use this setup is somebody who is looking to connect devices via Wi-Fi or the wireless network to their Peplink device and utilize multiple connections at the same time. Now the wizard does have some limitations if you start to look at enabling wired devices, devices that are using the Ethernet ports on the device. So in those configurations, we're going to do a manual configuration of SpeedFusion Connect. It's still super simple, and we're going to go through all of the steps needed today to get the manual configuration as well. So we'll put chapter links down below in terms of the 2 different things. Kind of basic users stick to the wizard, it's super simple, and the more advanced folks can go with the manual configuration and setup. They will all bring you to the end, which is that you can start utilizing those bonded connections of multiple internet sources into 1 internet source. We're also going to be covering some light optimization of SpeedFusion Connect, kind of showing you how you can optimize it for mobile use. There are some things you can do to it to make it work better if you're moving around the country and your internet connections change as your locations change. Today I'll be referencing a how-to article that may have additional information on the steps that we talk about. That article is available to the public. Beyond that article, we have an extensive array of articles and webinars and pre-recorded content, as well as written content available to our members through our partnership with the Mobile Internet Resource Center. If you start to really want to customize how your traffic operates, perform certain automations on how things work, set up secondary networks, possibly if you have an integration with like a home automation system or other stuff like that. We have webinars on all of those topics for our members. So make sure if you kind of get through this and you want to learn more that you check out our memberships at membership.mobilemusthave.com. Before we get into how to set it up, I want to talk a little bit about the technology of SpeedFusion Connect. Now, the back-end technology of what's occurring is a term or a technology called SD-WAN, and it's the ability to take individual internet connections and combine them into a single internet connection. Very similar to like VPN, you've probably heard of that, virtual private networking. SD-WAN creates a tunnel or a connection to a secondary location, and that tunnel allows the routers through proprietary technology to combine those multiple internet connections in that tunnel. When you utilize SpeedFusion Connect, you're renting the second side of that tunnel from Peplink from a data center. Now, devices that you purchase new will come with SpeedFusion Connect with 1 terabyte of data included in the device. And if you're using it for Zoom calls and you're just using it for work-related activities, 1 terabyte will typically last you 6 months to possibly a year. If you do run out of storage space, you can pick up another 1 terabyte of SpeedFusion Connect data for $40, and it's good for as long as you need it. So that is a very good deal. That being said, you don't want to use up your 1 terabyte of data watching Netflix, for example. You'll chew through a ton of data very quickly, and it's not really going to make Netflix work any better. In fact, VPNs like SpeedFusion Connect can actually cause problems with streaming services like Netflix because they think you're trying to watch that show from a different location. The reason for that is because that tunnel that we talked about is enabled, so it looks like your traffic's coming from Peplink, not from your actual location. That's all okay. This configuration, it will allow you to use SpeedFusion Connect or not simply by connecting to different Wi-Fi networks. Today we're going to configure a non-SpeedFusion Wi-Fi network. That'll be kind of your primary normal Wi-Fi, and then we'll configure another Wi-Fi network that we're going to name something different to. And if you're inside your RV, you simply connect the devices that you need SpeedFusion Connect to the right Wi-Fi network to get the benefits of the technology. I'll go ahead and link in the video description a link to the wiring diagram for the setup in this RV. It's probably a bit more complicated than your setup, well, most likely, just because we have a lot of different accessories plugged in, but it will give you a basic understanding of how everything is wired together. All right, so now we're gonna hop over to my desktop computer and we're gonna get started with configuring SpeedFusion Connect. Let's go. All right, everyone, welcome to my desktop here. So what we've got here essentially is a bone stock Peplink Max Transit Pro. So this is a dual modem, dual cellular capable device that is popular in our Ultimate Road Warrior bundles. Very similar to the Road Warrior, any of the Warrior series that have multiple modems. But if you're looking at a 5G or something else, that is fine, as long as you have the capability to have more than one connection enabled at the same time. We'll get into that in a minute. So before we start, I want to just link and reference back to our quick start guide and our Wi-Fi setup best practices guides. Those are kind of 2 fundamental guides that we recommend folks follow to do the baseline configuration of your device. Things like customizing your Wi-Fi networks and other things. It's a good idea to do those things first. So we're going to be operating today off of a bone stock device. So you'll see some default names like this Wi-Fi network here, and those would be customized or changed to what your preferences are, assuming you've set up those devices. We'll link the Wi-Fi setup and the just quick start guide in the video description just so you have access to those as a prerequisite to getting started with this video. The next thing we want to do is I recommend that before you do anything like messing around with SpeedFusion Connect is go ahead and go over to the System tab, click on the configuration, and download your active configurations. That's going to download a file, as you can see here, which is going to save a copy of all of your settings before you start messing with the settings. Now, if you get stuck, if something doesn't work, if you're confused, anything happens, all you need to do is go back to System Configuration and click Upload Configuration, select that file, from where you downloaded it, here in this case on my downloads folder, and hit the upload button, and it will upload all of your previous settings and restart the device to get you back where you started. So it's a good thing to do both before you start on this journey and after. If you get everything working just the way you want, download those configurations again, because chances are in a month or 2 or 3 or 4 of the internet working great, if something did happen to your device and you had to have it replaced under warranty or something else, having that file means you can restore all those settings without having to do all of this setup again. So just keep that in mind before we get started. Next, I want to talk to you guys about the dashboard. So we're talking today about SpeedFusion Connect, SpeedFusion Cloud, SpeedFusion Protect, whatever they want to call it. We're talking about connecting multiple connections together into one unified connection via SpeedFusion to provide redundancy on your internet connection. Now, SpeedFusion Connect is only going to use connections that are in priority 1 or enabled. So if you see green boxes next to them, that will mean that they are enabled and that they would be used by default with SpeedFusion. If you have anything in priority 2, that will not be used unless the priority 1 connections all go offline. So just keep that in mind. That is a question that comes up a bit. And these can be dragged and dropped via the handles on the sides here to enable each connection that you want. For us today, we've got Starlink, Cellular 1, and Cellular 2 all in the enabled. And then we have Wi-Fi as WAN connection to, we'll kind of assume that's like campground Wi-Fi that is sitting in standby, only to be used if all of these connections fail. Okay, great. So now we're going to click on the SpeedFusion Connect tab up here, and we're going to click on Choose Cloud Location. We're going to go down here and we're going to click Automatic, and this is going to select the closest data center to my physical location. As you can see down here, there's quite a few in the United States in different locations. Automatic will automatically update to the closest location. If you're more comfortable selecting a specific location, that's okay as well, but for this video, we're going to go ahead and click Automatic because we're focusing on the easy wizard on how to get everything up and running. Next, we're going to click on the Save button, and we're going to click on the Apply Changes and Confirm button up here. And we're going to wait a little bit, probably about 30 seconds or so, and we're going to go back to the Dashboard tab. And as we wait, we're going to see things start to pop up here on this dashboard as the device, here it is, SFC for SpeedFusion Connect, starts to populate and configure the SpeedFusion tunnel. And there we go. We are established. Now we have a tunnel to SpeedFusion Connect. It was that simple. But we're not going to utilize that tunnel yet unless we do some additional configuration. So let's go ahead and do that now. As I mentioned before, we were going to create a second Wi-Fi or wireless network inside of our setup that is going to be for the SpeedFusion Connect bonded tunnel. I'm going to go back to the SpeedFusion Connect tab. I'm going to click on Link Wi-Fi to Cloud. I'm going to look at my dropdown and pick the wireless network that already exists. It's basically going to mimic the settings of this. So things like your Wi-Fi password and all of the other settings will be cloned from this dropdown. So pick the one that you want to clone for SpeedFusion Connect. In this case, I only have one wireless network because it's a default device, so that's the one I'm going to pick. Now, under the name here, if I clicked Save, this would become my name, Peplink _ blah, 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 parentheses automatic. And what I want to have this set up to is something that is named, something that I'll remember as SpeedFusion. So I'm going to call this Peplink _ B4CD, just so it's the same. And then I'm going to hit space and type in SFC for SpeedFusion Connect. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now again, if this was your network, this would say, for example, the Smith family, and then this would say the Smith family SFC. We're just working with the default device, so that's why these names are the defaults. All right, I've gone ahead and hit apply changes. I'm going to go back to that dashboard and we're going to wait another 30 seconds or so. And I'm just going to go ahead and refresh my dashboard, and boom, there we go, Peplink _ SFC. And as you can see here, there's a little picture of a cloud
next to this Wi-Fi. And what that tells me is that any device that's connected to this will utilize the SpeedFusion Connect functionality, and it will bond these connections by default. So if I'm on a Zoom call or something else, this is the Wi-Fi network I'm going to connect to. That is how simple it is to configure SpeedFusion Connect using the wizard. Now that we're done with the basics of the wizard here, we're going to go and optimize the SpeedFusion Connect tunnel for cellular and kind of mobility traffic. I'm going to click over here on SpeedFusion Connect. I'm going to go to choose a cloud location again. Here is my existing tunnel here. I'm going to click on the name SFC here, which will bring up my settings tab. I'm going to scroll down here, and under policy, I'm going to click dynamic weighted bonding. And what this essentially does is it optimizes the SpeedFusion Connect tunnel to understand that the connections to the internet may be different. Some may be faster, some may be slower. There is a detailed description of kind of the differences in these algorithms, but the short answer is that dynamic weighted bonding is optimized for connections like cellular connections or Starlink connections. So we want to select that to get the best possible performance. For the most part, all of the settings in addition to this can be left as default. We do cover in our member area a bit more of some of these settings and what they mean and what they do if you are interested in learning about each of these, but we'll not cover that in our basic tutorial today. All right, so we've gone ahead and saved that, and we're going to click Apply Changes.
All right, so that's it. That's how you configure SpeedFusion Connect using the wizard. And if you're going to be connecting to SpeedFusion Connect via Wi-Fi, that's really all you need to do. It's pretty simple. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the advanced configuration, and that's going to be useful for folks, like I said before, who want to connect wired devices or who want to like tweak their connections a bit more. The first couple steps I'm going to do is going to undo some of the wizard settings just so that we can start with the manual configuration and make sure nothing overlaps. Just a few clicks here and there, but follow along with the video and we'll get you started with the more advanced configuration of SpeedFusion Connect next. Let's go.
All right, so let's move on to a more advanced configuration that would support connecting wired devices and giving you a bit more flexibility. All right, so I have everything exactly where we left off in the wizard setup, but we are going to make a couple changes because we're going to set things up outside of the wizard. First, I'm going to hop over to SpeedFusion Connect. Under Optimize Cloud Applications, I'm going to go ahead and remove any applications that were set there, just so that I've gone back to the default. And I'm going to go into the link to Wi-Fi, and I'm going to remove that Wi-Fi network that we set up for SpeedFusion Cloud. And I'm going ahead and actually I'm going to skip hitting apply changes just for now because we can do a few other things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new network under the networking tab. This is also known as a VLAN, and this network is going to be where all of our SpeedFusion traffic sits, whether or not it's wired or wireless. So the default IP address for these devices is 192.168.50.1, but because we're creating a new network, I'm going to move this to 51, and this is going to now be called SpeedFusion Connect Network. Next, I'm going to give that a VLAN ID. That's a more advanced feature, but for this tutorial, you can go ahead and just click 2 or any unique number other than 0. You don't want that, and you don't want it to be blank. So 2 is fine. We're going to enable inter-VLAN routing by default. We're going to leave everything else here default, and we're going to enter in a range of IP addresses that the router will give out to anybody who hops on this network. If you don't know what any of this means, that's okay. You can just honestly copy exactly what I'm putting in here, and everything will work fine for you. Everything else is going to be left as default. And we're going to go ahead and save that. Now we've got our new SpeedFusion Connect network that has been created. Now this network has been created, but we haven't told the device to put any clients on this network yet. So it is effectively not being used at all right now. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and go to the AP tab. We're going to create a new Wi-Fi network. We're going to call it, well, let me go copy the name of this. We're basically going to mimic what we did in the wizard, but we're just doing it manually. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to type in SFC at the end for SpeedFusion Cloud. But now I'm going to select the SpeedFusion Connect network as the VLAN that this Wi-Fi network will use. Under security policy, I'm going to go ahead and click WPA2 personal. You could also do WPA3 or any of these other ones. My only recommendation is do not select WPA/WPA2, this one down here, as this will flag a security warning on most iOS devices saying that the Wi-Fi is insecure. So WPA2 personal is kind of a good blend of maximum compatibility and good security as of 2022. I'm going to type in the Wi-Fi password of my choosing here. This would be the password you would use to connect to the network. We're just going to say welcome 2022 exclamation point. Please pick a better password than that, but for this tutorial that will work for us, and everything else will remain as defaults. Down to the bottom, click save, and now we're going to hit that apply changes button because we've made a bunch of changes at this point. Okay, so now we've got a Wi-Fi network set up for SpeedFusion Connect. We've got a network set up for SpeedFusion Connect. So it should just work, right? Well, not quite yet. We've still got one more component to do, which is we've got to go to the advanced tab and we've got to tell the firewall where we want the traffic to route out for that new network we created. So we're going to go to advanced outbound policy. We're going to add a rule and we're going to call this SFC for SpeedFusion Connect outbound policy. There we go. We're going to enable that, and the source is going to be an IP network, and we're going to select the network that we just created, which is the 51.1 network. The subnet mask for those networks will be the default, which as you see here, which is a /24 network, and the destination is going to be anywhere. We don't really care where you go out on the internet. If you've connected to this new network we created, we want it to use the connection that we're going to tell it we prefer. Since this is a SpeedFusion outbound policy, protocols we're going to leave as any, and then we're going to go here and we're going to set a priority access algorithm for how it's going to connect. And we're going to drag right in here the not in use, and we see cloud SFC, and we're going to make that our highest priority connection. Now, if you want to just make 100% sure you're always using SpeedFusion Connect, you can drag these other ones to not in use, and it will always use SpeedFusion Connect. Or if you want, you can just leave them in secondary priority like you see here. And the only time it will drop and use these connections in the order you see them here is if for some reason this tunnel cannot connect, like if there was a server down at Peplink or something like that. We've never seen that happen, but it is worth mentioning. So these will occur in the order. We can leave the other options here as defaults. We cover what these do and what they mean in our member area in our webinars where we talk about this in greater detail. But for the vast majority of customers, you can just leave that as default. We're going to go ahead and click Save and Apply Changes. Okay, so now anyone who connects to this Peplink network here via the Wi-Fi, they are going to use the SpeedFusion Connect tunnel that is established down here and showing in green. So we're off to the races. Obviously, that was a lot more steps to accomplish what basically the wizard was able to do in fewer steps, but there's more that you can do now that you've set this up manually. The first thing I want to show folks is we did talk about the fact that you could now have wired devices show up on the SpeedFusion tunnel. And the way you would do that is go over to port settings. Now this is a transit, so it only has one LAN port here. You could reconfigure the WAN port to act like a LAN port, but because I'm using it for Starlink, I have one LAN port here listed. So if I wanted all wired devices to use the SpeedFusion Connect tunnel, I would just go over here, network, port settings, and I'm going to go ahead and move this to access, and then I'm going to move the VLAN over to SpeedFusion Connect, and then I would hit save. And any wired device that connected via an Ethernet cable to that port on the firewall would now utilize the new network, the SpeedFusion Connect network that we set up. Now, if you want to check where your devices are connected, you can go to the status tab, click on client list, and it will show you your devices, and it'll show you what network, 50 or 51 in our case, each device is connected to, so you can troubleshoot and verify that the connection is working. You can also click here on the SpeedFusion tab, and inside here you can see which connections are enabled. Looks like my Starlink connection has a link failure right now because we're in a bit of a rainstorm and it's not connected, but but my secondary connections are working fine, and it looks like my Wi-Fi WAN is still good and in standby, but not enabled. There's some additional information that you can look at. If you go ahead and click this chart, that'll give you some chart-based information, or you can click this drop-down, and it will actually show you additional information about the SpeedFusion tunnel, what's going on, traffic up and down, live, so you can really understand how everything is operating. All right, so that concludes the more advanced configuration of SpeedFusion Connect and how you get things going not using the wizard if you're interested in a more advanced configuration. Let's hop out of my desktop and we'll wrap things up.
All right, so that covers the basics. You've gotten yourself set up with SpeedFusion Connect, either using that basic wizard or going with the more advanced configuration that gives you a little bit more in terms of options, as well as the ability to hook up wired devices. Now, there is a lot more to this topic, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Some customers are like, I don't care what Wi-Fi network I'm on, I want this computer to always connect to SpeedFusion. You can do that. There's a way to do that with something called a MAC address. Some customers have integrated secondary networks for security cameras, or maybe they have a touchscreen that controls their lights in their RV and they want to know how to integrate a secondary network into this configuration. You can do that as well. We've, at the point of this filming, I think we've got 10 plus extensive long online webinars that we've filmed that go through a ton of these different configuration options in our member area. So make sure you check out membership.mobilemusthave.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like what you saw today, please click the subscribe button and click the bell so that you're notified when our new videos come out. If you're interested in a PepWave device or any mobile internet solution, we ask you to hop over to MobileMustHave.com. If you want to talk to a representative via chat, you can do that in the bottom right-hand corner. You can email us at info@MobileMustHave.com, or if you want to speak to someone, you can do that as well. You can schedule a phone consultation on our website as well. You can go to consultation.mobilemusthave.com, or you can just go to the chat and ask someone to set up a time for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the road.